Welcome to Chapter 2, homework questions 55 through 59 in Core Connections Geometry. Question 55, solve for x in the diagram below. So make sure you're paying attention to what lines are parallel. You can see that this line is parallel to this one, and then also this line is parallel to this one. We know that because of the notations of the line. So let's take a look. Solve for x. Now what do we know? So if these lines are parallel, we can just kind of start marking. I'm just going to use blue for this angle. I'm going to start marking the angles that I know that are congruent. So this angle is congruent because of vertex angles. I also know this angle is congruent because the two lines are parallel, and those are corresponding angles. And since these lines are also, this one and this one are also parallel, I know that this represents a corresponding angle to this one down here. And then once again, those angles are vertical. So therefore, if all that matches up, then I should be able to set up an equation where 10x plus 5 is equal to 15x minus 30 degrees. Subtract the 10x, that would give me 5x over here. And then I can subtract or add the 30 to get 35 degrees is equal to 5x. Divide by 5, and x is equal to x is equal to 7 degrees. And once again, going through and explaining vertical angles and corresponding angles, and then vertical angles again to get those to match up. Question 56, for each diagram below, set up an equation and solve for x. On part A, we know the perimeter is 76. So if the perimeter is 76, I'm going to start with this side, and I'm just going to add them all up. And I'll write it out as I'm adding. So x minus 1 plus 2x, I'm only using parentheses to distinguish the sides, plus 2x minus 3 plus x plus 2x. And it has a perimeter of 76, so I'm going to combine all my like terms. And we have let's use a different color there. 1x plus 2x plus 2x plus x plus 2x. That will be 3, 6, 7, 8x. And then we can add the constant. And it looks like we have a minus 3 or a negative 3 and a negative 1. Looks like that's it for that one. And so what is that? Minus 4. And that's equal to 76. So then we can add 4. And then divide by 8 to get x is equal to 10. And this is for part A. All right, on B, we know that because these side lengths are marked to be equal or congruent, then we know their measures are also equal. So 3x minus 2 is equal to 5x minus 14. Subtract the 3x, and then I'll add the 14. So that will give us 12 is equal to 2x. So x is equal to 6. On part C, we have a straight angle. So those will be supplementary. So we know that if we take the two angles and add them together, we should get a measure of 180 degrees. Combine like terms. Subtract the 20, divide by 8, so x is equal to 20 degrees. And then on the last one, D, we can see that once again we have the markings here to indicate that this is an isosceles triangle. So we know that the angles are congruent, which means their measures are equal. So 3x plus 20 degrees is equal to 5x. Subtract 3x to get 2x, divide by 2. And x is equal to 10 degrees. Question 57, solve each system of equations below, then verify that your solution makes each equation true. You may want to refer to the math notes in lesson 213. So we are solving systems of equations, which means when we graph the two lines, we're looking for the intersection. On part A, I'm going to use the equal value method. So I'm going to set the two equations that are equal to y equal to each other. And then solve. So I'm going to subtract the 2x, add 2, and then divide by 3. So x is equal to 4. And then I can take the 4 and plug it back in for x into either one of the equations, and then I will get 18. So the ordered pair is 4, 18. That's your solution. Now it does want me to verify that my solution is true, so I should plug it back into both equations and make sure it works out. 18 is equal to 5 times 4 minus 2. So 18 is equal to 18. That one works. And then 18 is equal to 2 times 4 plus 10. And that would be 8 plus 10 is 18. So once again, verifying that the solution is correct. On part B, I'm going to use substitution because x is equal to that quantity. I'm going to replace the x in the other equation with that quantity. So 2 times negative 2y minus 1 plus y is equal to negative 20. I can then distribute the 2. Combine like terms, negative 4y plus y would be negative 3y. Add 2 to the other side. Divide by negative 3, and y is equal to 6. And then I can plug that back into either equation. The top one will be a little bit easier because it's already solved for x. So x is equal to negative 2 times 6 minus 1, which would give me negative 12 minus 1, or negative 13. So our solution would be negative 13 comma 6. Fix my 3 there. And then once again, I want to check this to make sure that it is correct. So we're going to take x as negative 13 and y as 6 and plug it back into the 2 original. So we have x, which is negative 13. So negative 13 is equal to negative 2 times y minus 1. I'm using this equation right there to plug in the information. And then we need to check to make sure that it's a true statement. So negative 12 minus 1 is negative 13, so it checks. Now we're going to plug it into the second one. 2 times x, which is negative 13, plus y should equal negative 20. So that's negative 26 plus 6. Negative 26 plus 6 is negative 20. So once again, it checks. So that's how you can solve a system. I use the equal value method on A and substitution on B. Question 58. Graph the line y equals 3/4 x on graph paper. Draw a sloped triangle. So y is equal to 3/4 x. And then there's nothing else there, so that's a plus 0, which means it goes to the origin. And it has a slope of 3/4, so we can go up 3 and to the right 4. We can also go down 3 and to the left 4. And we draw on this line to draw on the sloped triangle. You want to make sure you're going up 3 and over 4, or once again down 3 to the left 4. So we could either go positive 3, positive 4, or negative 3, negative 4. Still a positive slope though. Rotate your slope triangle 90 degrees around the origin to get a new slope triangle. What is the new slope? And so since it says slope, rotate your slope triangle, I went back to my original up 3 over 4. And so if we rotate that 90 degrees around the origin, so we're going 90 degrees, so this point right here would rotate 90 degrees. And so you might need to use tracing paper for this, but when you rotate that, that's going to put that point right here. And so the origin is going to stay because that's where you're rotating across. So I'll do it in red here. And this would be your new line, and it does want to know what the slope of the new line would be. And the slope, if you look, you're now going down 1, 2, 3, 4, and to the right 3. So your new slope triangle or slope would be negative 4/3. Find the equation of the line perpendicular to y equals 4/3 x. So now this is different than the original one, y is equal to 4/3 x. So if it's perpendicular, remember what happens is when we form this right angle is that it's opposite reciprocal. So 3/4 was the original slope. Once we rotated it 90 degrees, which was perpendicular, we got negative 4/3. So if we want to find the equation of a line perpendicular to this one, then we know y is equal to opposite reciprocal, and then your b value can be whatever you want it to be. If it's perpendicular, it doesn't matter. It doesn't have to stay at 0, but the slope has to change to its opposite reciprocal. Question 59. Mario has 6 shapes in a bucket. He tells you that the probability of pulling an isosceles triangle out of the bucket is 1/3. How many isosceles triangles are in his bucket? Well, if the probability of pulling an isosceles triangle out, that means there's 1 isosceles triangle for every 3 total shapes. But we actually know there's 6 shapes in the bucket. So this means that if we have 1 out of every 3, then if there's 6 total, because you multiply that by 2, so 3 times 2 would give us 6 total, then we could take 1 times 2 to get 2 isosceles triangles. So there's 2 isosceles triangle out of a total of 6. And so there you go, and once again, make sure you answer the question that's being asked.